Welcome back to another episode of W2 Alpha Talk. This time we're going to talk to you about, our last subject was when you get pulled over by police and what not to do. We're going to talk about your actions has a cause, and whatever cause you lead to that action is going to have an effect on that whole situation. So basically, if you act out, let's say the police ask you to get out of the car, and you're like, I'm getting out, I ain't getting out. Now it turns from, I may be wrong, but I think I'm right, it turns from a misdemeanor to a felony, right?
No, but it increases the reason why we want you out the car now.
Right.
So it's not necessarily a crime, it's resisting, but at the same time you're not under arrest, so it's a quasi area. So I'm in control of the car, and again, legally, the officer can ask you to get out the car if you're a driver of a vehicle in the United States. So if he tells you to get out the car and you say no, you're in an area where you're resisting. So the level of force has to escalate. The level of force escalating is based upon now articulating that the reason why I needed him out of the car is to identify that person as the driver of the vehicle who went through a red light, hit and run vehicle accident, things like that.
You're investigating.
Now investigating, and you're
Right.
hindering the investigation. So a whole lot of things.
Charges that can be built up on
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So it's better to just say, you know what, let me get out the car because I know the rules, I know my rights, and the officer has the right to tell me to get out the car under any traffic stop.
Right. So.
Right. Whether it's minor or he's investigating you for a hit and run and somebody died.
Right. So it's things you have to think about. Also too, it's a thing called verbal judo. Verbal judo is indicators where a officer is trying to get you riled up.
It can work both ways.
It can work both ways, and vice versa. You can get the officer riled up
Right.
too by calling him an asshole. Or something like that.
And the officer's human, so certain things that you say are going to impact his sensibilities as well as you. Officer's supposed to, the quote-unquote professional, and be above that, but we're all human. You say certain things for a certain amount of time. How much can a person, an individual human being, tolerate?
Right.
Especially when they have an authority and a job to do.
Right.
And I didn't stop you randomly. I stopped you because you went
purpose,
through
a
a
reason.
red light, whatever the purpose
Right.
is. Let's just use
Right.
that.
Absolutely.
Traffic, speeding.
Right. And so one of the indicators is they can tell you to calm down. That makes you more angry. Or they can tell you, why are you agitated or upset? And that will make you more angry. And you'll just, if you listen to those cues and realize what's going on and just remain calm, breathe a lot of oxygen.
Yep.
And you won't react in a negative way, because the news is portraying like every cop out there is trying to kill black folks.
No.
And it's,
Oh, you went there.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going there. I'm just going to say it like it is.
That's all I mean.
And that's what they're putting out. So people are having this real reaction like they don't have to comply or listen to the officials, and they want to fight them or whatever. And that's the wrong way to do. Don't take a misdemeanor and turn it to a felony or lose your life over it, because it's not worth it.
And the key to this whole thing is the word police in itself. Police and politics go together. Politicians try to separate themselves from the police, but the police are no more than any government official that you come across. Whether it's the Department of Sanitation, Department of Health, Parks and Recreation, they're all employees of the same elected official. So your mayor is the police chief's boss. Who
Right,
is the
but-
boss of the officer on the street.
But you shouldn't argue that on the
No,
side of the
there's no
road,
way to do
right?
No.
And so you shouldn't argue that on the side of the road. So
No.
the thing of it is, if you have video, like most of us have cameras in our cars, and if your car, let's say your car, you got a video of yourself wearing your seatbelt, and the police comes up and saying you wasn't wearing your seatbelt because you accidentally took it off when they pulled you over. If you got video of that, don't be trying to argue with the police officer at that point. Take the ticket,
Take the ticket,
go to court,
fight it in court.
take that video, show it in court with that date on there, and the judge has dismissed the case.
Yeah.
Because they're human.
Yeah.
And they only can deal with what they see. So
Right.
if officer walks up to the car and the person has a seatbelt off by the time they get to the car, they never had their seatbelt on.
Right. Now, I'm not bootlicking for cops, so don't even come after me for that. He's a retired police officer, black police officer, all right? And so, but the thing of it is, we're telling you some stuff that you should be using for common sense for. And a lot of people are not doing that. They listen to these clowns on YouTube and you guys are getting yourselves in trouble.
Yeah.
So we're trying to stop that. You got anything from the young perspective?
I would say, yeah, don't try to argue something, and try to get your point across and try to be, I wasn't doing nothing, all of that. If you weren't doing anything, keep your mouth shut and only answer the questions that they ask, so that you get yourself out of the situation, so that you can keep going. You know, trying to fight and argue is a moot point. You know, you're going to end up losing that fight. Your best bet is to just make sure you have the documentation that they need and keep your mouth shut and go about your day.
One last thing: when you get stopped on a traffic stop and the officer is going to decide whether or not they're going to charge you with a citation, the reason why they need your information is to
Verify.
to verify that you're the person that was in the vehicle. So you have to give them a valid driver's license, because that's another charge. But that person, usually the officer, will not tell you why you were, what the violation is, until they receive that information.
Yeah.
Follow me? So people say, well, what did I do? They're not going to tell you what you did. Give them the driver's license, registration, insurance information if they request it, and then they'll tell you. It's no different than if you were to go in front of a magistrate. The magistrate determines who you are, that this information that you presented is you, and then they say, okay, you've been charged with whatever.
They identify
Right.
first, then tell you what the
Identify.
charge
So you
is.
have to give that
Right.
information so that the next step will happen.
Yeah, and so don't fight it. Just go along with it. It's not hard. It's not rocket science.
Right.
You know, so just use a lot of common sense. A lot of people just not doing it right
It's
now.
not common sense, is not
Be
all
smart.
that common
Yeah,
nowadays, too.
it's not. And you're
Be
just
smart.
doing stupid stuff and making yourself look like fools.
And
So-
worse, getting yourself pepper sprayed and tasered and all
or
kinds
killed.
of shit. And,
Or
worse.
killed.
Yeah. So we see you on the range. If YouTube takes us down, see us on Rumble and Parler.
And maybe Frank.
Yeah, and Frank.